Hi, how are you today? Chapter 23 is called A Strategic Schism, the Internet and Fluid Boundaries. And because it's such a long chapter, I've had to break it into 3 podcasts. The first one is concerned with the strategic schism. Now, schisms really have a religious connotation. It's when within a single religious grouping, one group of people says, we don't believe all of that. We believe most of it, but there's some bits we don't believe at all. And of course, the most famous schism of all was the schism within the Catholic Church, which led to the development of the Greek Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church. And that has gone on since 1054. Now, do remember that both parties still believe in the fundamentals of the Catholic religion, but there are some bits they disagree on. Not the whole thing, just some bits. In my opinion, this has happened because of the internet. There is a schism between the historic approach to strategic management and what is happening today. And it has been caused by 2 things: the shattering of business definitions and the shattering of value chains. Let's start with business definitions. Historically, we looked at business definitions in terms of product matrices, where we have along the top the markets and the customers, and along the vertical axis the products, and all of those items tended to be known. And we could say that in the legacy world is the world before the internet, products, competitors, competitive positions, life cycles, territories, all known. That has been absolutely wrecked by the internet. Wrecked. Let me illustrate that through 4 legacy players in the recorded music industry: EMI, HMV, Sony, and Warner. In the legacy world, those companies competed largely against each other and some smaller players, and everything was sort of known. Today, in the transformed world, let's see who their competitors are. Let's start with HMV. This is its website, and here is one, which is Apple, and here's another one, which is LimeWire, and here's another one, 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 Spotify. It's incredible, the diversity of competition that these legacy players have to face. It has shattered the rules of the industry. It has shattered them like this, that historically firms knew where they were, but not today. In terms of defining their business, it's just so difficult. Suppliers speak to each other. Firms are ignored. Who are the products? Who are the competitors? It is a nightmare trying to get a good fix on it, as you might say. The difference between today and yesterday things tended to be known. Today they don't. That's business definitions. Now let's look at value chains, how they have been shattered. The historic logic and effective of value chains was a commanding company was able to control the activities, reduce the unit costs, increase the differentiation, and erect barriers to new entrants. And we saw that in the case of Ford. There's another view of value chains, and it is this: that although value chains tend to be described in physical terms about how goods are transformed into physical products, they are also, crucially, conduits for information. And it's the change that has happened in information that is key to understanding the internet. The internet provides the following for the first time ever: open systems and universal connectivity. Anyone can connect with anyone. Almost costless information, speed of exchange, and it's just getting better and better as bandwidth increases. Here is information in the legacy world. Information has 2 characteristics: its degree of richness and the extent of its reach. The richness is the interaction that one communicator has with another, and historically If richness was high, you could not communicate with many people. And also, if reach was high, it could not be very rich. And we had this sort of trade-off between richness and reach. That's all gone. Today, we have what's called the new rich reach paradigm, where information can be high in terms of its richness. You can have good interaction with someone using a website, and it can be very high in terms of its reach. It can be global. And this is the new rich reach paradigm, which has transformed and is transforming all industries. Let's see how this works in practice. Here's a typical legacy value system where suppliers, the firm, the channels, and the customers communicate. With the ability to have this rich reach communication, it's possible to excise, that is, disintermediate, take out the intermediaries, and we can have suppliers directly connecting with customers. And at a later stage, we can have intermediate firms taken out completely. An example of that is travel agents. And the effect of airlines such as Ryanair and EasyJet, who have set up these no-frills airline, which are actually all internet-based now, has been immense. Let's look at the average productivity of the European Low Fares Airline Association members compared with legacy players. The average number of passengers per employee of those transformed companies is 7,000, and for legacy players, they don't even make 1,750. And we have some detail on it here, which I'm not going to read. LCC is a low-cost carrier, and legacy is a traditional one. How has this happened? Let's go back to the generic value chain. The glue which holds the value chain together has melted, and it's now possible, because of the new rich reach paradigm, to shift away from physical locations beside each other, so that we can have firms now where their support activities and their primary activities are maybe not beside each other. And if they can do that, they ought to be able to reduce the costs of those activities and reduce their overall costs, and thereby either increase their margin or offer products at prices below competitors' costs. We'll explore that later in the next one. And I'd just like to acknowledge, as usual, that most of the credits are due to Apple. And finally, to thank you for listening to part 1 of this series of 3. I hope you will listen to them all. Thank you very much, and goodbye.